What's going on, guys, and welcome back, and happy Thursday. We've got our last balance patch of the Marvel Snap September season, and it's a pretty massive one at that. We've got ourselves 3 different nerfs to some of the best cards in the game, a couple of buffs that are okay, and then we have a sprinkle of news into what is going to probably be a huge meta shakeup next content patch. Now let's go and jump right into probably the most spicy news, and we start with those major nerfs, and we got to begin with Galactus is dead. Collect yourself, take a moment, let's say our goodbyes. It has been a hell of a journey for Galactus and Galactus players. They'll be taking the big bad from a 6-7, which allows anything obviously with 7 or more power to restrict Galactus's ability, to a 6-5. Yeah, Galactus, Destroyer of Worlds, Planet Eater, move over because he's now countered by Silk, Lizard, freaking Titania is a 1-cost card. Anything obviously 5 is going to stop him from activating his powerful ability. Now, this is going to make Galactus more of a complement to decks rather than the card that is built around, and the devs have said it themselves. They opened a can of extra whoop-ass against Galactus. They weren't holding back. They even said they want his performance to go down pretty massively, and that they liked him before they released Alioth, or at least the metrics, which it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because he's not going to be where he was before Alioth now. At least that's what I think. And he's kind of a tricky card, right? In one end, I don't think he's a big deal towards like the top end of play, but he's just polarizing towards the bottom. Most people hate him, but there are plenty of people that like him. And it's a tough thing to handle. I get it. I personally probably, and I love Alioth, you guys know this, would have done a power on Alioth and Galactus, it started there, because Galactus now, like Goblin decks, sure, maybe he can be in these ramp decks as this alternative option, but he's screwed for a while. This is definitely going to hurt his performance and Galactus players altogether. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think about the Galactus change. Definitely going to be somewhat of a massive one. Let's go ahead and move on, though, to the next nerf impacting a very good card and probably a top 5 best card in Snap, if not better. She's great at combo. She's great individually. Kitty Pryde is going from a 1-2 down to a 1-0. Now, KP to me is one of those cards that is just kind of better than most of the cards you can play. And it wasn't only just her, but the ability to play her on Angela and these decks that were solely just about making her the biggest power card in the game and then having Taskmaster to follow. Now, this isn't much of a spoiler. Usually we get our Season Pass videos on the Friday, so we should have that tomorrow. Next week's or next month's Season Pass card, and weeks for that matter, is Elsa Bloodstone. And to me, this nerf just targets that all the way. And it makes sense because, good God, we would be in for a just hell of a ride of Kitty Pryde decks. We're already in there, but you know what I mean. Even worse with Elsa and Kitty combined. Now, if you don't know what Elsa does, she's going to be a 2-cost, 2-power card, and she'll be adding plus 3 power to the last card played in a lane. And obviously, Kitty Pryde can be played multiple times, making her numbers completely ridiculous. Now, Elsa's a whole nother conversation. I think she's going to be a fantastic card and is going to be great when paired with Kitty. That's a whole new combination. I think almost better, or at least in line with somewhat the Angela combo with Kitty Pryde, one of the best in the game. But if you guys want to see the October cards, I have a whole video. I'll put it down in the description, or you can check the link in the top right-hand corner. But when the devs were talking about Kitty Pryde, this is what they had to say. Essentially, what a ride it's been for her, and that she's been an integral part of the metagame's best decks 4 different times. And all of those decks were vastly different, which is kind of cool because obviously it's not the one-trick pony. This card can be played a multitude of different ways and really speaks to her raw strength. In a nutshell, guys, they just wanted to reduce her power, right? To bring other cards somewhat competitive in play, kind of like they've done for Lizard in the past, or anytime any cost card just like reigns supreme for a long time. And in this case, Kitty Pryde's been good for a damn while. She's going to be awesome in Elsa deck. She's still going to be very just incredible at what she does. She comes with the advantage of dodging priority, which is massive. But on top of that, she can also not be countered easily with Killmonger because she hops back out. There's a lot of ways to utilize her, and I still expect her to be a very good card in Snap. But this just tones her back from being completely broken, I guess, with Elsa. And they said that they're going to have some other kind of ways to handle her in the future. We're going to have to see what those are. All right, we got one more nerf to talk about before we move on to the buffs. We've got Snowguard, who was one of the most recent cards to get buffed up. Went from legit the worst card in Snap to, in my opinion, an S-tier card. Absolutely incredible. We saw insane play in Loki decks, Devil Dinosaur, Collector, and the way that she works all together is awesome. She can handle those magic decks that are looking for greedy Infinite turn 7 plays, and just the cheeky things you can do with the Hawk and the Bear. Well, guys, she is going to be nerfed a little bit, but I wouldn't worry all too much as she's largely going to be pretty damn good. They'll be taking not Snowguard from a 1-2. They're not adjusting her, but the Hawk and the Bear. They're going to be changing it from a 2-3 to a 3-3, so a whole cost increase for the Hawk, which arguably has a very good ability. And then the Snowguard Bear is going from a 2-3 to a 3-4, which, you know, is somewhat respectable still for 3-cost stats for the Bear. And they've already stated that the Bear never got played, and that's why he got a power increase where the Hawk didn't. Now, again, where you're using Snowguard right now, at least creativity-wise, people are playing Loki decks, Collector decks, Devil Dinosaur. Those are where Snowguard is still awesome for how much she costs and what she brings, right? It will somewhat affect her plug-and-play ability, right? Like a little bit as far as just the situations where you could play the Hawk down for 2 cost and then something else to really kind of spice things up for cheeky plays. Like example, if Shuri Lab is there and you want to play Kitty Pryde into Angela and you're Hawk down, that way you can build up that Kitty Pryde, stop your opponent from doing so, and you can do that for pretty cheap. It's going to be a bit harder to do that now with the Hawk. Albeit if you're looking to play the Hawk most of the time, it was like that was your main play and then you were doing something complementary to it because it was still 2 cost anyway. But what I found more interesting, guys, is what they had to say after that. They said this change is the first of a larger series of adjustments, which they don't use that terminology all that much. You'll see live in next week's content patch as we shift the cost and power of several small cards that add cards to your hand to get a more diverse spread of enticing options for different goals and play styles. Now, they're usually pretty careful about their terminology, and the fact that they said large makes it seem like there's going to be a pretty big meta shakeup in next week's content patch. Maria Hill, Sentinel, Cable, Mirage. You have a couple of cards here. I'm interested into what this means. And if you guys don't want to miss the giant content patch, which will be next week, I'll do a shameless plug. Subscribe down below. Now, if you guys are wondering why I'm not like that mad about some of these nerfs, like they haven't really been wrong in the past about much of these changes. Like Quinjet, people were mad about that change, and obviously it desperately needed it. There are times, though, that if a change doesn't land all the way, I want them to revert it back a little quicker. Like Black Bolt, in my opinion, can go back to 5.8. This is just one example. I would like to see this moving forward, but I think they've been somewhat pretty good on all of the changes, and I'm okay with it. Every single patch, we have people just pissed off, and then it kind of settles and people understand. But that's besides the point. We're going to go ahead and move on to the 2 buffs of this patch, and I'm going to just lay it to you straight. They're not like that impactful. They're cool. I think they're definitely going to add some spice in some situations. But the one that does intrigue me, and it's a card that I've always had a lot of passion for, one that I played a ton in beta, and it just made me fall in love with the ramp play style, and that is Psylocke. Now, they're taking Psylocke from a 2-1 over to a 2-2, just adding one simple power point. But this is going to be pretty good for the card. This, I think, was much needed, right? Like, the Time Stone was able to do the same thing that Psylocke was, and, like, Wave and Electro were just stomping on her in terms of ramp deck play. Psylocke now is going to be a bit better, I think, for multiple reasons. First of all, Wave has a direct nerf with Mobius, but Electro and her are going to just be energy cheaters, allowing you to ramp a bit more dependably. And I think that Psylocke encourages unique deck design, maybe squeezing in a combo with 2 6-cost cards, like things like we've seen with Nimrod in the past, trying to get Nimrod out early to get more copies. I like Psylocke, and I think there's more here than you think of trying to push her into more deck design. Now, lastly, guys, for the buffs in this balance patch, we have a card and a hero that, for whatever reason, Second Dinner, they love her. They put her in all the promos, like move aside Captain America, go ahead and show Squirrel Girl on the intro. We had her on the recent anime, like new cinematic. She's just everywhere in their promo material. Besides the point, they'll be taking her from a 1-1 to a 1 to trying to bring her up with like Shauna and these other cards that really just take up a lot of space. I mean, let's be honest. The main reason that we even played this card for the most part was just to immediately slaughter the squirrels and try to get our deaths count reduced, right? So this is going to, you know, I guess add a little bit of sizzle to Zoo decks and maybe Patriot as an option. Nothing colossal. And they were sure to point out that they've got a new variant coming out with zombie squirrels, which is cool. I think I'm sure this was timed a little bit with that. It's not earth-shattering if they want to sell some zombies, cool. But for me, the larger takeaway here is that we now have token cards with variant styles, which is something that I've wished for a while. Mysterio, Doctor Doom's bots. It's something that they haven't done that I think they're going to moving forward a bit more. And it's a perfect time to do so, I guess, because we're moving into spooky season. So that is going to be it for the content patch and all of the changes. All in all, I'm not like a huge fan of this OTA patch. I think it's actually one of the worst that they've had in terms of excitement. Just a lot of nerfs, and they're definitely, you know, aiming to change up a lot, but also prep for the new season. Only a few days until we get some bigger adjustments in the actual content patch, and that's what they seem to be hinting at. So we'll have to kind of stay tuned to see what that brings. Anyway, guys, want to take a second and just say thank you. If you guys want to support me as a creator, if you enjoy Marvel Snap and you come back, it does mean a ton. For someone who plays way too much of this game, loves Arrow too much and or new White Queen variants, and it is probably overly positive. But I am now going to... I found a base set collection. It was actually my wife's in like an attic. So I'm actually going to go check that out and sort through those. Don't know why I'm including that in the video, but it was right here. So I thought I would show you guys. I like cards, I guess. Have a good one. Have a great one. Until the next one. Happy snapping.